This first one is called Magic, and it is inspired by my last full day in Aberystwyth. Myself and a few friends from Creative Arts went to Havard, which is a small town outside Devil's Bridge in Wales, and it was a really beautiful place. If I could imagine myself living in that forest. Honestly, I mean, I wish I was like a nymph or something like that. And I did actually write a story about a nymph today, but anyway, yeah, this is Magic, and it's based on my experience in Harvard. I'm saying that because I know someone's listening who actually went with me to Harvard. So hello, Coral. Okay, here we go. She walked through the forest with care and trepidation, wary of stepping on leaves and branches. She did not want to disturb their home, just wander through it. The path became steeper. She felt like she was falling as she began to run down the hill. When reaching the bottom and the path became level again, she exhaled loudly. Her breath gave life to the trees. Their branches flapped at their sides, and their leaves rattled. She looked up to the top of the tree. Their arms reached high for the clouds, as if they were trying to shake one another's hand. She felt very small until a smaller creature crossed her path. The squirrel stared at her, unsure what move to make, if any. He twitched his nose at her and hiked up his tail. He was too busy to deal with her, and he had errands to run, so he bolted off for his next appointment, knowing that the forest would send someone to collect her shortly. She gazed after the squirrel as it ran off, and was somewhat disappointed that it had not stuck around long enough for her to offer it one of the peanuts she carried with her in her bag. But she did not want the squirrel to think she was ungrateful for being allowed passage through the forest. She pulled out the snack box from her bag and dropped a few peanuts on the floor, hoping they would be found by the squirrel on his commute homewards. She continued on the path in front of her, stepping lightly on the pebbles, determined not to crunch them under her boots. She looked over the edge and saw the river running beneath her. Ahead of her was a magnificent quaint waterfall that set the course for the water to run. She made her way down to the river, and hopped across the stones set in the middle. She gazed up at the waterfall, bathed in the delicate shower it sprayed at her. The air was fresh and clear. She had never had such delicious air before. Normally it was stale and crunchy, but this was raw and smooth. It was intoxicating. She could not breathe enough of it in. It was like she had never truly breathed before now. The water rushed past her, waving at her as it descended further down the river. She skipped back onto the path and followed it in a friendly game of chase. She smiled as the leaves joined in. They ran alongside her, using the breeze to further themselves in the race. The grass waved and cheered for the competition, excited for the victor to be revealed. She ran as fast as her 2 legs could carry her, but it was no match for the water, the leaves, nor the wind but it was no match for the water, the leaves, nor the wind which had just joined in and taken the lead. But she was not there to win. She smiled and slowed down, her heart pumped furiously, trying to catch up with the rest of her body. Her feet ached and her head throbbed. She had never felt more alive than in this moment as she gulped more of the forest's impeccable air. She sat down on a fallen log that lay beside the path. She closed her eyes and breathed in through her nose and out through her mouth. Had her eyes been open, she would have seen the true magic of the forest. She would have seen the dryads frolicking together around the trees, the nymphs of the waterbeds splashing one another, and the rocks and splashing another on the rocks. The dwarves collecting sparkling stones that washed up on the river, the petite fairies flickering about in the wind, the gnomes popping their heads above the ground from their burrows to tell them all to quiet down, the trolls under the bridge dividing the belongings of the travellers they found amongst themselves, the forest unicorns that looked like bushes with 4 legs and a horn waking up after a mid-afternoon snooze. But she cannot see this magic, for it only occurs when she is not looking. She may not be able to see the true nature of this forest, but she can feel it. She knows that this place is one of pure magic.